Hi, I'm Nina Cooke, and thank you so much for joining me today for the Entrepreneur's Inner Game podcast. Today, I have a very special guest. I'd like to give a very warm welcome to Charles Byrd. Charles is called the Chaos Killer. He's a Silicon Valley veteran, and he has a deep background in online education, productivity, and joint ventures. He reveals secrets that will organize your team, reduce your anxiety, and double or more your income. Charles, welcome to the Entrepreneur's Inner Game podcast. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Charles, you started off working in Silicon Valley. I know you worked there for many years, and then you decided to take the leap and set up your own business.
That's a fact.
How did that happen? What made you decide to do that?
Okay, so to give a little context, I really enjoyed a lot of aspects of my career in the Silicon Valley, especially when I started founding and running my own departments and creating trainings for a 6,000 person enterprise. And there, I built in some creativity into the job that made it fun. But after some management reorgs, as happens about every 6 months in the corporate world, I decided it would be more fun to reach a lot greater size audience and make a bigger impact. But one of the things that kind of brought my awareness to the fact that I could go start my own business is I had a couple friends that started a wooden sunglasses company, and that took a few years, but it got up and going. And then they started a wooden watch company, and that overtook the first company in 6 months. And these were my peer group, my friends. And I was like, wait a minute, we can run our own businesses? Like, it never had dawned on me. And you read books about it all the time, but then you're like, wait, if they can do it, I certainly can too. So that was one of the triggers and guiding points. And then when I reflected on the impact I wanted to make and different skill sets I had, online education seemed like the perfect avenue because I was already running enterprise projects, international teams, and I'm a tech, I love technology and productivity and apps and stuff like that. So I kind of looked at what was helping me the most in my career and made my first online course teaching that. But it's definitely a mental shift, and it took really committing to it. I recall playing with the idea for a long time, and then to finally say I am actually doing this now. And I had this piece of wood printed on, says I can, I will, end of story. Like, there's no more teetering whether I'm going to do this or not. I am doing it no matter what. So that was definitely a mental shift that helped build enough, I guess, inertia and confidence to say, let's do it.
And how long ago was that?
Just over 2 years ago. And actually at the start, I didn't specifically know what I was going to create a product on. And when I figured out digital products are the way to go, because my friends that run the physical products, they're like, go digital, no inventory, no shipping, none of that. And it's actually a great platform because the idea is you build something once and then sell it over and over again, which really helps with scalability. And you can sell one to many instead of doing one-off services for trading time for money.
And in the 2 years, your business it's really become a very, very successful business in 2 years. So I'd love to explore with you your mindset, your inner game that's helped you to create such a successful business in such a short space of time.
Sure. So when I was building my course, I have a course that teaches entrepreneurs how to apply Evernote to their business and their life. And even before the course was done, it kind of dawned on me that I needed to build a lot more relationships. And I started investing time in it. And I've always considered myself a social person, but it's not like I was actively trying to expand my relationship network. I kind of operated in my friend circle, and that was that. But somehow I got clued into the fact that I would need to learn from other people that were, further along than me. These people had big audiences that at the time I had no audience other than just connections on LinkedIn and things like that. And so even before the course was done, I invested a lot of time connecting with people. I started going to different masterminds and events. I started joining Facebook groups with people in the circles that I wanted to learn from. And in the process of doing that, I've kind of honed a system for finding people that have audiences or skill sets in the spaces that I want to grow in or build my own audience in, how to connect with them, how to basically leverage your little wins on the way to kind of climb the staircase to bigger and bigger audiences and learning and opportunity.
That is, I love the sound of that. And with my own experience with JV Partners, I know it's an incredibly effective way, not only just to reach more people, but to grow your list and have a greater impact. So I'd love to find out more about how you built these relationships and how our listeners can do the same.
Sure. So you basically have a few different ways you can do it. Number one, going to events. And actually, I'll point out there's probably no better way to do it, because when you're spending actual time with people for 2 or 3 days, you can really connect. In fact, one of the first events I went to, I was looking at a picture because I was speaking in front of the room, and I just created a new webinar, and that picture came up. And it dawned on me that of the 12 or whatever people in that room, I'm in touch with 5 or 6 of them all the time, 2+ years later. And I go to a lot of events, so my network has grown. But even before that, something that's really easy for people to do, not everyone can just run out and travel because maybe there's budget or time limitations, although I would highly recommend doing it if you can. You can do the same thing online. So let's say you want to learn about internet marketing or online education. You find who the leaders are in that space, and likely they'll have Facebook groups or other communities that you can join. And early on, I found a few of these groups, got in with Facebook, and it I forget exactly how long it took me, but at some point it dawned on me that you can add these people as your Facebook friends, because before that, my Facebook friends were my friends. And then I'm like, well, how about I start adding some of these people so I can see their posts, learn from them, see different opportunities. So what you do, you find the groups where your audience is going to, like your people are going to be. You look who's active in the group, who's posting really valuable content, who's moving and shaking, who's contributing in a meaningful way. And then you just start commenting on their posts, liking their posts. They start seeing your picture in their feed. Provide value back. If they have some question and you have a way to help, you can comment back. And then after a little while of doing that, you simply message them, say, hey, how's it going? I saw your post on this, and invite them to virtual coffee, which is a Skype or Zoom chat, very similar to how this feels. And for one, I've never had anyone decline such a meeting. And I was like, let's just start setting up 4, 5, 6 of these a week. And sometimes I'll have that many in a day. And next thing you know, you're meeting with all these cool, interesting people. And one of the tricks here is you're listening. You're listening to what they're trying to accomplish, what they're up to that has them excited. And as you listen to them, you'll find opportunities to contribute, because you have skill sets in certain areas. You might not be great at everything, but I'll give an example from kind of early on. Last week I was in, or I guess 2 weeks ago now, I was in Austin and bumped into Ryan Levesque again, who I've spent different weekends with at different events. And, he's this amazing marketer. And back then I was very new to it, but he was doing webinars, making thousands doing these JV webinars per webinar. And I was like, how can I help this guy? Because I'm not going to be able to give him marketing tips. He's the marketer, right? How am I going to help? And I was like, you know what? I have a audio and video background. I'm like, hey, Ryan, you're reaching thousands of people. What if your audio and video quality were a lot higher and the images in the slides and so forth? And I recorded, I pulled up different microphones that he could benefit from, did A/B comparison recordings and sent them to him. And he's like, wow, this is so helpful. And that was just taking something from my background and contributing just by finding a way to help. So my point is always listen. And as your circle of people and influence expands, if you pop into a new circle and someone's like, I'm getting a funnel up, but we're having trouble with the copy, it's not converting, you probably bumped into 2 or 3 copywriters at one of the events or groups you're in, and you can say, hey, let me introduce you to Sue, because she's amazing and she's a friend of mine. Takes 5 or 10 minutes to throw together an intro, and it's a very valuable thing for them. It helps them a ton, and it's easy for you. And magically, when you're helping people out, good things happen for you. So it's like breathing in. The only outcome is breathing out. So if you're always trying to be 2 steps ahead in helping people, opportunities just flood back your way.
I love that. I think that's brilliant. So you're always looking to give, add value, and then somewhere down the line, it may be reciprocated. How do you go from offering value to carrying on the conversation with them, to maintaining that relationship? Because sometimes you have a touch point and then, things fall away and then you don't have any contact with them for a while. How do you maintain and deepen that business relationship?
Well, there's a few ways to do that. One of my friends, Robert Michon, he one time we were at an event and talked for hours and hours, and then when we were leaving, he's like, if I ever pop in your mind, just shoot me a text or a note. And you might think, well, I don't want to bug them, or if I don't have something coming up, like, why would I be reaching out? But it's just touching base, and it kind of stuck with me, and I do that. If someone pops to mind, I'll just send them a little Facebook message or a text or this or that. And you can get a lot more scientific about it. In the process of getting my business going, my biggest client, Danny Inney, asked me to book all his joint ventures. And so I learned how joint ventures work, and then spend a lot of time researching tools and workflows with my project management background and Evernote certification and all these tech pieces. And I systematized it with the best tools in the industry to do it that I've found. And so I have customer or client relationship management, CRM software that integrates with Evernote. Point being, I can track hundreds of relationships, and depending on what's appropriate for that type of relationship, you can have them loop through with little reminders. Hey, it's time to ring Nina and say, just check in. So you can really systematize it so you're not letting relationships fall by the wayside, and you can nurture them and just check in and send intros now and again, and just hear what they're up to, because then you can always find new ways to help them. So we have, I started doing, last year, and we have 2 this year, live events teaching this stuff in depth. And so we go into these actual systems, from relationship building, how to track them all, how to align it to ask for the joint venture, how to, and then once it's a green light, how to set it all up and the promotion schedule and back end and follow up and all the details that turn it into a self-replicating system.
And how do you go from giving value at the beginning of the relationship? How do you go from there to asking them to promote you?
Yeah, so I'll just refer back to kind of the beginning. One of the first, well, I was asked to speak at an event in San Francisco, and basically here's one of the secrets to this. Any win that you have, you use that to your advantage. Meaning, I was asked to speak at this event in San Francisco, so then when I recorded it and I edited into this little demo or whatever, a little video. I guess they call those scissor reels or something. But anyway, then when I was reaching out to people, I'd tell them where I was at with my course. I've got this new course. We've been testing it with some audiences. Here's a link to me speaking at this event. That was the one thing I had. So when you'd reach out, you'd share that and they go, oh, cool. Well, why don't you present to my audience? And then when you get that booked, when you reach out to the next people, you're like, hey, I was working with so-and-so and so-and-so, and everyone seemed to like it. So, I think it could be a good fit for your audience too. But you always let them make that conclusion. You're kind of listening for, if you're meeting someone new, you're listening, A, do they have an audience? B, who are their audience? Would your product or service complement or benefit what they're already providing? And if they're not, you don't need to go into a lot of detail about what you do. You can just find ways to help them. If you believe it would be a match, you just bounce it off them. So, let's say you're teaching entrepreneurs how to get up and going. Of course, being organized is going to help with that. So Evernote would complement that. So basically assessing if it's a fit, and if it is, say, I believe this is the angle you're going for in providing value to your audience. This is what I offer. I think it matches up, but what do you think? And if they say yes, then you say, cool, then are you interested in booking a joint venture? So you definitely have to get to the question, because if you beat around the bush, it probably won't happen. But you do it in a very timed way. There's a system to it.
And what about the mindset piece? So some entrepreneurs may think, oh, I could never ask, for someone to promote me. I've got a smaller list than them. They're much more successful than me. How do you get past that resistance in your thinking?
Well, there's a few ways around that, but it's also being strategic. Like if I went up to Jeff Walker, I'm acquaintances with Jeff's brother John. I still wouldn't even ask them to promote me, because I'm not at their level per se. Mike Filsaime promoted last week, 2 weeks ago, Brian Tracy, and in February, Eben Pagan's promoting. But I wouldn't have been able to do that last year or out of the gate. Just connect with people like that and ask. What you do is let's say you've got something new, it's kind of untested, you don't even have your own audience. For one, you can start with Facebook posts about what you're doing and see if there's interest. Two, there's a ton of people with lists that are smaller, like 1,000, 3,000, 5,000. And those might sound big to some people, but when you're trying to get people on a webinar, those numbers, they won't get a lot of people. My first webinar, the gentleman's audience was 3,000 people, his list, and he got 50 people on the webinar, which is actually high for a list that size. It probably should have been 25 people. It ends up kind of being a numbers game, but point being, you can just be very upfront with where you're at with your product. And if it's new, you can just say, look, this is new. It's been, put through pilots or betas. The results seem good, but let's give it a go. And if they want to, then they will. And if the outcome is not good, you can learn from it and adapt. And if it is good, then you reach out to people a little higher up and a little higher up. So it's not going directly for the top, but you'd be surprised. Sometimes you just get on a call with someone. And I remember when my company was new, I had a chat with Kathy Demers, who runs businesssuccess.com. And I was very candid with where I was at and what my successes and strengths were and what I didn't have fully dialed in yet. And she's like, well, let's give it a go. And we sold like 67 seats to my course in one shot. And I've been working with her and a bunch of other people ever since. And when you land something like that, then when you reach out to the next wave of people, guess what comes out of your mouth? Hey, when we worked with Kathy, this is what happened, and blah, blah, blah. So it's taking one win and transitioning it to the next and the next, and you can actually start snowballing them by getting waves of introductions from the people you're working with and rebooking with the people you work with.
This is fascinating stuff. So when you feel resistance, because I know you've had huge success in these 2 years, but I imagine there have been setbacks and bumps along the road. When things haven't gone the way that you wanted them to go, how have you picked yourself up to keep going?
Well, yeah, not everything's always smooth, but what I find is when I go surround myself with leaders in my space, people thinking big, people thinking, very massive in their scope. They're not limited the way they think, and going and learning from the best who are executing. I find when I go to events, my brain gets quite fired up, and I'm very energized and motivated to execute. So I think it's super important to be surrounded by the people doing what you want to be doing or are doing. But when you get isolated, it's easy to lose steam. And so even online, I have meetings all the time, and I'm bouncing ideas off of people. One of my friends, Ryan McKenzie, who has 2 very successful membership products and runs a magazine in Canada and this and that. I met him at a party I threw at my last Pure JV event, and we've been in touch all the time ever since. And he pinged me the other day. He's like, hey, if you ever need help with anything, let me know. So jumped on a call yesterday or the day before, and here's this badass giving me all kinds of great advice just because we're friends. So that's another huge benefit of relationship building. I have a network of friends that can handle basically anything you would need to do in this industry, from copywriting, Facebook ads, funnel building, joint ventures, building out, webinar funnels. You end up with this network of rich, intelligent, smart people that just make your life a lot more fun. And you can help them by doing intros. My friend Ben, who does our Facebook ads and some of our copywriting, I think I sent him 4 intros in the last week. So you can help people, and they can help you, and you end up, my favorite kind of relationships are like a lot deeper. They're not, I'll promote you only if you promote me. I want to build a relationship where we're connecting and firing on all cylinders, and we always are watching out for good opportunities for the other party.
That sounds wonderful, because it is more than just a give or take. It's a lot more than that, isn't it? If you promote me, I'll promote you back. And that's a short-lived relationship, but the deeper ones really add a lot more, and they become friendships, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. And some are, I'll promote you if you promote me, but those aren't my favorite. It seems like there's different pockets of people in the industry, and some are very, I'll send you this many clicks if you send me that many. And to me, I'm not particularly interested in that. I mean, you'll bump into those people, and you still do your best to work with them, but you can build a community or circle of people that are kind of in it. They're in it for the right reasons, and it's not. It's less transactional.
That sounds absolutely fantastic. So, what's the number one mindset tip you can share with our audience about how they can start reaching out to potential JV partners?
Okay, so for one, if you're in some of these Facebook groups and communities already, you can, if you're not really engaged, start getting engaged, because just being part of a thread and contributing or sharing a link to some article that relates to a question someone had, that can start building your social confidence. And you're looking for the people that are making things happen and reaching out to those, because you could reach out to some people that are kind of twiddling their thumbs. It's not going to help you much. You want to actively be looking for the people pursuing their goals with a vengeance, and they're excited about it. And just start identifying who some of those people are, and then contributing. There's a gentleman that did the same thing following me. I started seeing him liking my posts and little comments, and it's been over a year, and I just met with him the other day, and I feel like he's a friend because I've been seeing his face and comments for a long time. And so you can build relationships with people no matter where they're at. I have all kinds of top industry people that I connect and work with just by being present and building those relationships. So you can just start small. You don't have to go nuts. If you go to an event, you're not there to meet everyone. You're there to meet one or two people and actually have a deeper conversation. And of course, you want to make sure there's some synergy as far as if you're talking to a farmer somewhere, maybe that's not going to help your particular business. So be mindful of that. But you're not there to try to reach everyone. You're there to connect with a few people and actually build an ongoing long-term relationship.
Great advice. And how can our listeners find out more about you and your work?
Yeah, so the events that we have coming up, and we also take private clients to teach this stuff in depth. You can go to purejv.com. That's PUREJV.com. We've got a fun video on the page. We have two big events coming up. Mike Filsame is speaking at our San Diego event, which is February 24 and 25. And then we're doing it again March 19 and 20 in Orlando. And likely we'll be turning the content into a course as well after that. But in the meantime, I have private clients that I work with. My main product actually isn't this. This is kind of an industry insider focus. I'm in the productivity space, and my audience is comprised of people looking to be more productive, whether they're entrepreneurs, professionals, experts, authors, coaches. And my main company website is Byrdword, BYRDWORD.com, Byrdword.com. So purejv.com and Byrdword.com.
Fantastic. Birdword. That's a good play on words. I like that. Thank you so much for sharing so much great advice about JVing, and not just the outer game, but also the inner game, because this is such an important way of growing your business, and in a very enjoyable way, and building up some great relationships along the way. So
yeah, it's one of the fastest list building opportunities too. We built a list in basically a year and a half of 28,000 people by doing joint ventures.
That's incredible. It's such a short space of time. So thank you everyone who's been listening and watching. I hope you've got a huge amount of value from this. And until next time, bye-bye.
Bye.